week. And I'd read them, but I already have, so. Has everybody had a chance to review the minutes?
I'll make a motion that we accept them as presented.
I will second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to accept the minutes as presented. Is there any discussion?
Scott, could you take a look at from where it says Mr. Davis? It just doesn't seem to make a lot of sense.
What's on that?
The very last one, the first, before it says
Right
Lynn Fox.
Go up about halfway.
It starts out, Mr. Davis pointed out that her hours.
Yeah, I think my point that I was trying to make there is that we were going to expend around almost $20,000, and for a full-time position without benefits, or a part-time, full-time, however you want to word it, with Catherine is with the health officer. My point I was trying to make is that we have more hours, but for the whole year, and we're expending about the same amount that we were between the contractual for the mowing and for the part-time, the new $7,410 for the part-time employee. Combination of both was almost $20,000, $19,000.
Okay.
And that was my point, that, it was getting up close to what we were expending in the, for the position that Catherine's in as a part-time position, but year-round part-time position, and I was saying maybe we should look at bringing the person on and doing all the mowing and at a higher amount of hours per week without making it a full-time position.
All right.
That was my point on that.
Yeah, I just want to clarify that.
Is there any other discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? So moved. Okay. At this point, I'm going to be opening up the meeting to the public hearing. The Budget Committee has worked not as hard, actually, this year as we normally have to on presenting a budget. We had a lot of our work done for us, which was excellent. It made for a lot more short evenings, and I don't think there was one time that we had to stay here until 11 this year, which was awesome. The outside agencies, for the most part, presented us with either level funded or reduced budgets. There were a couple of exceptions. The library, for one, they had to take on more expenses of their own that the town of Northfield had been taking care of for them. So there was a minor increase in that line. We did reduce the Pines Community Center down from their request. They were the only one really to present us with a request that was higher than what they had requested last year. And we brought that down because we feel they should be doing more on their own for funding. We did not do as we had done last year, which was give them only $1 and have the townspeople. We put it at $50,000, and they'll have to make do with that, I feel. They need to be doing more on their own. The selectmen brought to us budgets from the various town departments that were, there was a lot of level funding going on. In those, there were some changes to some lines. There was an increase in the land use assistance. There was an increase in the health officer. There is an increase. Last year we had zeroed out all the merit raise pools for all the different departments, and this year there are small sums in those lines for the town employees. If the selectmen deem that they are eligible through the merit raises, then they will obtain them this year. One thing I do want to point out on the budget that you have in front of you, the one that is the Town of Tilton recommended 2012 budget. If you look at the bottom lines on this budget, the second to last page, there's a dark line, and it has a small synopsis that explains what's going on to get the dollars to match up exactly what was in last year's town meeting. If you look at the individual authorized budget lines for 2011, some of those lines are going to be a little bit different than what you would see if you pulled out last year's town report for what we passed. The reasons for that are two, and they're very simple reasons. The first one is that anything that was a warrant article that it adjusted a line, such as the Pines, where we had put it in as $1, the townspeople had put in the warrant article and they increased it to $54.5. That line changes. in here. So any of the warrant articles like that, the $3,000 for recycling and
Grange.
the Grange, the $20,000 for the Grange. The other items that have affected the authorized budgets were items from 2010 that the selectmen had encumbered. One of them, the largest one, was $28,000 for a truck for the highway department. So the highway equipment purchase department, we had only had $1 in there. They were able to buy the truck with funds from 2010, which were encumbered, so that money was moved into that line. So you'll see some minor discrepancies like that, but they should be all tallied up here in the bottom. If anybody has individual line questions, you can certainly answer them. Other than that, I have to, give kudos to the select board and to the outside agencies for really keeping the finances and the state of the economy in mind and presenting to us a budget that was more than workable. Thank you very much. I'll open it now up for any public comment. Don't all talk at once. Oh, come on, does anybody have a question? Come on, Norm, you weren't here. No, you helped present the budget. All right.
Okay, I'll ask you a question.
All right.
The Times, you said you brought it down?
Yeah, their request, we funded them this year at $50,000. Last year, they had $54,500.
So you think it's okay. I thought when you said they were going to be doing more raising
Well, we're hoping-
monies, it would be more than 4,000.
I would hope so, too, but
They asked for more than 50,000.
They asked for more than that.
they asked for
I think
60.
that's a little crazy for a private organization.
We think so, too, but after the way things went at town meeting last year, where it was pretty much rubber stamped that they got the $54,500 that they had asked for, we didn't feel comfortable just doing what we had done previously and putting it at $1. We wanted to set a maximum in there for us. And, if it works okay next year when they come before us, hopefully they'll be more prepared to take on more of their budget on their own.
Good. And you mentioned something about the library, that Northfield wasn't paying?
Northfield, the library has had to take care of their own plowing, whereas before the town of Northfield had plowed their yard for them. So, some small expenses like that, just increased it. It went from $118 to $119, so I think overall it was less than $1,000, the increase. Mary?
I'd actually like to address that because last year I thought it was a huge problem, but it is working out really well at the library. And we, this year, contracted through the school district to get the parking lot out, which means that there's not a ridge of snow in the middle, and it also means that we get a pretty good deal, although it's a contract price, so,
Yeah.
so far we haven't spent as much. We're not getting a good rate for our buck yet, but,
Yeah, if it wasn't winter like last year, you'd sure be making it.
And the other thing, the other part of the change in our budget for that position is that, or for that kind of item, is that we don't no longer contract with a cleaning company. We hired a person to work do our shoveling and our cleaning and our minor repairs. And so what seemed like it was a big need worked out very well.
Excellent. Excellent. I'm sorry, I've forgotten your name. Sorry, Tim.
You have a sale of town property of $110,000. What's the anticipated property that's being sold?
Beach Street.
We took a property for taxes, and we're planning on selling.
29 Beach Street.
Thank you.
The $110,000 represents the amount of taxes and penalties and legal fees that have accrued on this property. It's worth far in excess of that. It's right on the lake, at the mouth of the river up here, Lake Winnisquam. And we're in the process of setting up an auction to sell it so that we can recoup our tax money. So it's actually, we didn't pay for it, but the taxpayers have taken a hit of it, so we're going to get our money back.
Thank you, Joe. Are there any other questions? I mean, I know that we got pretty much we got an excellent budget presented to us.
Maybe you should just mention the point on the Pines, too, Cindy. On the Pines, one of the things that we had concerns was our welfare officer came in front of us and stated that she had tried to make arrangements for some students to be able to place down there for scholarships, and she was turned down, so that was a concern that we had. Yeah, so that was one of the reasons that we went along with what the number the selectmen had put in and put it at 50,000.
Thank you. Tim?
As it relates to the tax rate, is there any anticipated growth in the total value of property in town from last year?
No, this budget is 0.46 or 0.4% higher than what was brought in the operating budget last year at the town meeting. So I don't think, from our standpoint, that anything's going to change. We still have to see warrant articles. We'll get them next week, and we'll present them at another public hearing. That, of course, might change that, but we're not anticipating a ton of warrant articles or a ton of money that would impact our tax rate, a lot of money that would have to be out there and funded.
Well, maybe I worded that wrong. I was wondering what the growth of the tax base was from last year to what's anticipated for next year.
It was substantial growth.
I don't think there's any.
Very slight.
Just a few businesses changed.
Less than 1%.
Yeah.
We have nothing big coming online April 1st. We know the construction, but just a small pickup, decks.
The only one would have been maybe the Subaru dealership. I don't know if that changed the value on that land at all with what they did, or be the only one I can think of.
Or Walmart someday.
Yeah, but that wouldn't affect it because the taxes, that would affect, 2013, 2014.
That won't be on until next year,
That won't
though.
be on.
Next year.
No, there's no huge.
That would be nice, but...
Yeah, just have more people complaining about the...
They're looking for a place to put a prison.
No, I'm good.
We'll actually have quite a few come on next year. Lockmere Meadows is expanding, Winnisquam,
Are there any other questions?
Walmart.
No, I was just saying that our values could go up a little. One of the developers in town has bought out his partner and now wants to start completing the whole project, which would be several units up by the lake. So that could have a very favorable effect on our real estate.
Residential housing or apartments?
They're condominiums. It's buildings with like 4 to 5
Units within,
units in
kind of like
each
townhouse or...
Yes.
It all depends on how it affects, the school rate, Sandy. If it sends kids to school, then it can offset itself very quick.
They're all 2-bedroom rooms, and they're very, very nice, so, yeah.
Not a lot of kids out there, but
No.
I don't know, but I'm just saying, if you have residential, if you have with the formula we have in the school district now,
Right.
if you add kids, it doesn't just stay at the fixed percentage.
Right.
It does affect the,
Right.
Lockmere Meadows wants to expand.
what's that?
Lockmere Meadows wants to expand.
Yeah, and that could affect it too.
Definitely will affect
Big
it.
time.
If it affects the ADM, then it's going to affect us. There's no question. And that won't be in a positive.
No, they're talking 3 units.
Police, fire, and ambulance.
What's that, Catherine?
I said police, fire, and ambulance.
Any other questions, concerns? No?
I have a statement.
Okay, make your statement.
My statement, this is the first time I've been through the budget process, and I didn't really understand it before now. Not that I really understand it now. I just wanted to thank all of the members of the Budget Committee for what you guys do. Very little glory, but lots of numbers and lines and squished on the paper, and what did they do in '09, and what are the percentages. That said, for those people who don't know, we're losing several members of the Budget Committee this year who've done an outstanding job. And it's going to be really hard to replace the guys.
Unless they rerun.
No, they've decided not to for the most part.
They're taking the easy way
They're
out.
3 for 3. I don't know how they'll adequately replace you guys. And so thank you very much. I'm a taxpayer here in the town of Tilton, and I appreciate you looking at it.
You guys. All right, if there are no more questions, then I'm going to close the public hearing. We've been, I think that's probably a record for us. Not sure. You know? Now, we are going to be receiving warrant articles next week for review in the Budget Committee, and we'll be having another public hearing on those warrant articles and how they affect the budget in 2 weeks from tonight. So come on back and see what's in store for the bigger projects. And those are the things that could have a bigger punch on the budget. As for the Budget Committee members here, we are anticipating those warrant articles next week. I don't think we have much of anything coming. We'll all be surprised, though.
What's she smiling, though, for?
That's a grin.
The table was shorter, I could kick you, Catherine.
You may want to next week.
Yeah. Okay, well, next week we'll do the kicking,
Water
but for
line.
right now...
11 o'clock.
Water line?
A water line?
No police stations this
No
year,
water
guys.
lines, I promise.
Next week, as one of my final acts here, is we have not yet reviewed the year-end, the December budget.
Where we ended, you mean? Jim didn't have anything,
Better run.
everything in there, did he?
You better run,
All right.
John.
So
That fast, you'll catch her easy.
next week, I want to just go over the December financials one more time, and review where we are, what got spent, and how we really ended up the year, because
Will
we
you
haven't...
have everything in by then, too? No?
You'll be close enough, though, I think, for to see where we ended up.
Must be very little out, though, then, by then, won't there? Yeah.
So if we can have, if we have updated anything you've got, that would be great, Tim. Expenditures, yeah. Just to see where we ended up, and we'll go over warrant articles, and we'll call it good. All right, does there anybody have anything else?
I do.
Here we go. Be kind now.
I will. Just for you, Scott.
Okay.
I like to revisit a line on the Red Cross.
That's the one line that
That's
we're...
the one line where we're different.
From the
And
selectmen.
I was one of the ones that really objected because the Red Cross didn't show up to make a presentation.
Yep.
And as usually happens to me, I end up having to eat my words, because shortly after that, there was a very bad fire on Church Street. I think that's Church Street.
Yes, it is.
Okay. A woman's house was completely destroyed in a matter of minutes. She had gone to pick up her father at the nursing home. She came back, she had no home. And within a half hour to 45 minutes, 3 people from the Red Cross were there. They had arranged for a place for her and her daughter to stay. They had cards so that they could buy clothes to replace their clothes. They made arrangements to go with her to the drugstore because she was very badly in need of a prescription medication that had burned in the fire. I personally thought they did an outstanding job. They were also very caring with this individual who was distraught, much more so than a lot of people would be because of a condition she has. And I would like to have us discuss possibly funding them for for the 1650. Is that what it is? I would say.
1657?
1657?
I actually saw that. Don't know.
Okay. That's good.
Yeah, 1657.
Well, I marked it and then couldn't find it, so.
It's on the second to the last page.
Yeah, I know, but I don't know.
There was a party to that as well. Now they could be put up $500 worth of stuff, but yeah, one is.
Yeah.
I don't think there's an objection here in the Budget Committee that they, when they show up, they do what they're supposed to do and provide the services. The problem is that they didn't show up here in order to talk to us at all. So we level funded them. You know, we had a meeting scheduled and they didn't.
Right, and as I say,
Yeah.
I was one of the ones that really pushed that.
I think the proper place for that would be at the town meeting, to have a line amendment. You present it to the people just as you did, and let the people decide, Jane.
Okay.
Because I think we had, and I agree with Tony, I mean, we had a certain protocol that if they didn't show up, then, I mean, that should hold some weight. I mean, we said here amongst a lot of outside agencies, and I'm not saying they don't do a great job, don't get me wrong, I'm just saying I think the proper place is to put it in front of the people.
Well, I've never seen them in action, so as I say, I think I was the one who brought up if they don't care enough to show up, then I don't think we should do that.
I mean, I don't necessarily disagree with it, but I think with our procedures that we had was fair with everybody, with all outside agencies. That's just my 2 cents worth.
I would have to agree with that. You know, they just, I don't necessarily disagree with changing the number. I just think that they should have been here in order to get that done themselves, you know.
I don't think it's the first time an agency hasn't showed up, though. I know the year before, the Association of the
No, but we
Blind
level
didn't
funded
show
them.
up.
We level funded them with what we had for the year before, Jane. It isn't like we didn't fund them. We funded them the same amount, I
Yeah,
believe, what we funded
okay.
them last year,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
And,
Yeah.
it's been the last couple of years running
and the only
anyway.
reason- I say that twofold. One is that the protocol that we had set forth, and the second is that we went through all the outside agencies, we came up with a budget, we presented it once, and I think it'd be nice to present the same budget the second hearing
Okay.
as we presented tonight,
All right.
and to the townspeople. Just, I think, you know, that's just my 2 cents worth. I mean, I have no objection if you get up at town meeting and say, I'd like to amend the Red Cross line to 1657, the
All right.
number will be there. You know, the Board of Selectmen's number is in there, 1657, right? Isn't it underneath your list?
Yes.
Yeah, that was what they had requested.
And then you can, you know, then
All right.
you'll have the floor and you can make the plea to the citizens, and if the taxpayers agree to it, then you're a go. Simple as that. I don't think there's...
Did they respond at all when they got so much less?
I have not heard anything from them, but we do not contact everyone specifically and say this is what is being recommended.
And I think we had that discussion a couple of times about the Red Cross not corresponding, correct me if I'm wrong, if I remember right, that came up a couple of times about them when they weren't here, and then I think that you made contact with them or something, and they still didn't.
I don't think they billed us either last year, did
Last
they?
year. I don't think they billed us.
Was it Red Cross that? Red Cross?
Nope.
I think it was Red Cross that
No,
didn't.
expenses zero as of 12/31/11.
Yeah, I think it was
They never
Red
billed
Cross.
us.
yeah.
Yeah, they didn't bill us in 2010 either.
I think they use the municipalities as a fishing pool, and whatever they can catch and get, they use.
Yeah, but
if they're
they're not
billing, then
asking for
why-
the money,
I mean,
you know.
I
They
think,
probably expect us to send it to them without request.
I think LRCSC did that for a couple of years, too.
It is a
Yeah,
big
well,
organization,
oh yeah, it's huge.
so.
But it's well needed though, too, in the event.
It serves its
as
purpose,
Jane's-
yes.
Yeah, as Jane's stating. I mean, it's one of those that if you don't use it, you don't know what they do, but once you're around somebody that uses it, then you see everything, and at that time is of the essence. there's no question.
There was the time, was it 2 years ago? I think it was Heather told us we had a problem with them, that they weren't responding.
Yeah, that's the time with the hotel, remember the
Yep.
hotel issue? What's that?
And they had responded 4 times after that to severe traumas and
Right.
fires after that.
Right, they came last year and
Didn't we have an individual
presented.
here last year?
They were
Last
here
year they
last
came.
year. They did come last year, yes. And then when they came here and presented, we asked questions, they sent the answers back.
Right, but then they never billed us, obviously. They haven't for the last couple of years.
I'm guessing they didn't understand that was the process.
Yeah, I think that's true, yeah, and a lot of organizations
In the
don't.
past years? In the old town, that's one thing I haven't looked at in the old town bulletins. I wonder if they've ever billed us and paid out on that line. Because I think, Pat, you brought up the question last year about the hotel stays, if I remember right.
Right,
Last year, not this year, but last year.
right. They were, that was in question.
You had a
She
concern.
went back and, because it was brought up to me, she went back and looked at that. and It was brought up. She referenced it and came back with documentation to me that they did not keep a certain number of stays per instance.
I wonder if they've had a change in their administration, because I know the year before, I was involved in working with some people who had been burned out, and they were not visible there at all. If it hadn't been for the people in the town of Tilton, those people would have been in trouble.
See,
But
they
it was
used to have local
emergency.
people, and like, I know Franklin, Nicey Ladd used to be the Red Cross representative, and if there was ever something in the area, she seemed to go,
I think that
she was there.
I think that there is an issue in general with organizations, because when we went to a CASA event last year, they had not, late in the fall, they had not requested their money, and they didn't know any of the proper procedures of what to do, how to do it. And once there were, all 5 selectmen were there at that time, and we spoke with the director, and the following week, it was less than a week, I guess.
It was less than a week. We said, send a bill.
They
came.
They truly did not understand the procedure of that.
There may be a case here, too. So,
I can guarantee you they know how, what the procedure is now.
I think he's got
Is there anything else anybody wants to bring up? Bob, anything you want to bring up?
Nope.
He was all prepared.
He's all prepared.
He was all prepared.
I'm prepared.
I thought you were prepared since before I opened the meeting.
Make you move.
I'm prepared to make a motion here at 7:28 that we adjourn.
And I'm prepared to second that.
Excellent. I have a motion and a second to adjourn. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, I call the vote. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? So moved.
This has got to be the shortest meeting I've attended in 11 years.
Yes!
It could have been, we could have had it shorter. We had to stretch it. We had to double the length.
For nothing.
Excellent.